Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really powerful idea that huge, life-altering change doesn't actually come from some massive, heroic effort. Nope. It comes from the compounding effect of hundreds of tiny, almost invisible decisions. We're talking about the incredible power of atomic habits. But first, let me ask you something, and I think we've all been there, right? Especially around, say, the second week of the new year. Why do our biggest, boldest, most ambitious goals just fizzle out and fail? We aim for the moon, but a few weeks later, we find ourselves right back where we started. The problem, it turns out, might not be the goal itself. It's the way we're trying to get there. Okay, so if that's the wrong way, what's the right way? Let's jump into a real-world story that shows a completely different and surprisingly effective path to winning, one that starts with the smallest changes imaginable. For 110 years, professional cycling in Great Britain was, well, let's just say it was a bit of a disaster. They were pretty much the definition of mediocre. I mean, in that entire century plus, not one single British cyclist had ever won the Tour de France. It was so bad that top bike manufacturers wouldn't even sell them their gear. They were worried it would actually hurt their own reputation to be associated with the team. Ouch. But then in 2003, this all changed. They hired a new performance director, a guy named Dave Brailsford, and he brought in this philosophy he called the aggregation of marginal gains. Now, it sounds complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. Just get 1% better at, well, everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I'm talking about stuff you'd never even think of. They re-engineered the bike seats to be more comfortable. They tested different massage gels to see which one helped muscles recover fastest. They even hired a surgeon to teach the riders the right way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick. They painted the inside of the team truck white just so they could spot tiny bits of dust that might affect the finely tuned bikes. Seriously, nothing was too small. And the results? Oh, they were absolutely mind-blowing. Just 5 years after Brailsford took over, the British cycling team showed up at the 2008 Olympic Games and completely dominated, winning an incredible 60% of the gold medals available in the sport. And then, the thing that nobody thought was possible happened. A British rider actually won the Tour de France. And then they did it again, and again, 5 times in 6 years. It just goes to show you, all those tiny, almost invisible improvements, they stack up and compound into something truly world-changing. So this amazing turnaround wasn't just about trying harder, right? It was about building a system. So how do we build a system like that for ourselves? Well, it all starts with the first law of behavior change. You've got to redesign your environment to make your good habits obvious. You see, our brains are basically prediction machines. They're constantly scanning our surroundings for clues about what to do next. You don't really decide to check your phone, right? You just see it sitting there on the desk and boom, the habit is triggered. The more obvious the cue, the more automatic the habit becomes. Check out this study from a hospital cafeteria. It's brilliant. They wanted people to drink more water. But they didn't put up posters or give lectures. Nope. All they did was put water bottles in every single drink station and food area. And look at the results. Soda sales went down and water sales shot up. And the craziest part, they did it without saying a single word. They just made the good habit the most obvious choice. Okay, so making a habit obvious is step 1. But the second law is all about embracing something that's just, well, it's just human nature. It's the law of least effort. Let's be honest, our brains are fundamentally wired to be lazy. To conserve energy, we are always going to drift toward the easiest option. There's this fantastic story about a photography professor at the University of Florida. He split his class into 2 groups. The quantity group would be graded simply on the number of photos they turned in. 100 photos, you get an A. The quality group, though, they only had to submit 1 photo, but it had to be nearly perfect. So who do you think took the best pictures? You might be surprised. It was the quantity group by a landslide. While the quality students were paralyzed, theorizing about what makes a perfect photo, the quantity students were just out there, snapping hundreds of pictures, making mistakes, learning from them, and getting better with every single click. They made the action easy and frequent, and that is what led to real excellence. All right, so we've made our habit obvious, and we've made it easy. But there's a third crucial piece to this puzzle. Our brains crave rewards, and they crave them immediately. If an action isn't satisfying right now, we're probably not going to do it again. Which brings us to the third law. Make it satisfying by visualizing your wins. Here is a beautifully simple tactic. A stockbroker started each day with 2 empty jars on his desk. One held 120 paper clips. After every single sales call he made, he would move 1 clip over to the other jar. It's such a small physical act, right? But it provided an immediate, satisfying visual of his progress, and that little reward motivated him to keep going until the jar was full.
You know, this is the exact same logic behind comedian Jerry Seinfeld's famous productivity trick. He gets a big wall calendar, and for every single day that he sits down and writes jokes, he draws a big red X over that day. After a few days, you've got a chain, and your only job, he says, is to not break the chain. The goal isn't to be a genius every day. The goal is simply to maintain the momentum.
And that really brings us to the ultimate final mindset shift in all of this. The goal isn't just to achieve one outcome, like running a marathon or writing a book. The real goal is to change your identity, to become the kind of person who just does those things.
I mean, think about it. Every athlete in the Olympics wants to win a gold medal. Every entrepreneur wants their business to succeed. Winners and losers have the exact same goals. The goal is not what separates them. What makes all the difference is their system of continuous, tiny improvements. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. The NBA's San Antonio Spurs reportedly have this quote in their locker room, and it just perfectly captures the patience that mastery requires. It's about a stonecutter hammering away at a rock 100 times with no visible result. But on the 101st blow, it splits in two. The incredible insight? It wasn't that last hit that did it. It was all the work that had gone before.
So the question for you is this: what is your 1% improvement? What is the one tiny, almost effortless action you can take today that begins to build the identity you want for yourself? Don't focus on the giant mountain you want to climb. Just focus on that first tiny atomic step.